Good morning, and soon it's going to be good afternoon, everyone. After a very interesting session, wherever you have been attending, and a very interesting plenary, welcome to this session number 8. This session talks about making behavior stick. And all of you understand that, behavior change is a dynamic process, and to make behavior stick is not an easy task. It requires a lot of energies, it requires a lot of focus, it requires intervention strategies, and requires many things. And learning from the experiential learning of how behaviors can stick and how behaviors across the globe can make a difference, can make a dent, is very interesting for everyone to understand so that we can also learn from these behaviors. And last, I would say 2021 is a challenging year, but more than that, the onset of COVID-19 saw challenges which have been globally talked about, and the term new normal came into being. And the new normal spoke of behaviors which were very important, and the term, following of COVID appropriate behavior came into being. And everybody started talking about how important it is to follow COVID appropriate behavior to fight the virus, because the virus does not know the age group, is it cuts across the caste, class, any kind of, it does not discriminate. And this is how it is interesting to understand importance of making behavior stick. We have three presenters lined up today, very interesting presentations. Presentation one will speak about, this will be talking about by Vibha Gupta. It will be talking about COVID-19 and hygiene habits, factors influencing adherence and sustainability of newly acquired behaviors, a qualitative study from India, the capital, New Delhi. The second presentation will talk about behavior is another vaccine, reaching young girls on vaccine hesitancy. Very, very challenging post-lockdown study from Chennai, India, by Sampath Project Operations and Nalamdana, NGO, Tamil Nadu. Uh, and the third will be from Pakistan by Mohammad Akram, and this will be talking about from risk to repeal and communication in Pakistan. All very interesting studies, all very interesting in the sense that they talk about how people and organization have taken up challenges to overcome the new normal, and how they have promoted behaviors which have been very positive, which have had long lasting if impact, and will have a long lasting effect. So we'll start with the session. Before that, I just want to give a recap of the plenary. We had a very interesting, very dynamic speakers in the plenary. Paritosh talking about the commendable work done in the new normal, and how, the feeding plan of the organization helped so many, reached out to so many. And that was very, very interesting. And of course, apart from that, we had presentations from different parts and different experts. They were talking about vaccination, the other challenges, and how they have coped up during these very tough times. So we start with these sessions. Before that, a few ground rules for all the participants. I request all the participants to mute themselves during the presentations. I also request participants to post their questions in the chat box. And for each presentation, we will be taking a presentations after the questions after the presentations. Each presenter has 10 minutes, and after the three presentations, we will take up all the questions. And after that, I will also request the experts, the presenters today, to look at the questions in the chat box if they want to directly answer them when I ask the questions. Few ground rules, all of you understand them because you have been a part of this beautiful journey for last 3 days. And today is the concluding day. And let's start with Miss Vibha Gupta. Vibha, you're there? Vibha is a PhD scholar in Department of Development Communication and Extension in Lady, yes, yeah, Lady Irwin College, Delhi University.
Development Communication and
Yes,
Extension, Lady Irwin College, University of Delhi. The
yes.
title of my study is COVID-19 and Hygiene Habits, Factors Influencing Adherence and Sustainability of Newly Acquired Behaviors, a qualitative study from Delhi, India. The science of behavior change argues that certain inflection points are more conducive to habit change than others. These include significant personal life events like becoming a parent, getting married, or moving houses or cities, or external events like war, displacement, or natural disasters, when it is relatively easier to discontinue old habits and adopt new practices. The COVID 19 pandemic has been an unprecedented global event, challenging worldwide populations to adopt new behaviors, especially hygiene behaviors. COVID 19 is a unique event in the sense that it is the first pandemic in a hyper-connected world where panic response of one geography was instantly accessible to another, where nationwide lockdown as a possible and real response got seared in our collective consciousness. The origin of this study was a curious exploration into understanding if and how COVID-19 crisis induced habit change in people. The primary objective was to identify new hygiene behaviors adopted in the first wave of COVID-19 pandemic. As the pandemic entered second year, the intent of the study was to understand the factors impacting long-term adoption and sustainability of the new behaviors, resulting in their adherence or discontinuation. The key inquiry domains during the study were COVID 19 threat perception, coping strategies, new hygiene behaviors adopted, behaviors that stayed and those that didn't, and people's self assessed reasons for the same. Now, about research methods. This was a longitudinal qualitative study. In order to mitigate challenges of lockdown and social distancing, snowball sampling was used to conduct in-depth telephonic interviews over 2 rounds, the first one from being May to June 2020 and the second one from being April to May 2021. Only those mothers who participated in both the rounds were included in the final analysis. Protection Motivation Theory, or PMT, provided the theoretical framework for the study. This theory helps to understand how people make choices regarding health behaviors in face of stressful situations. It has a combination of exogenous factors including threat appraisal, that is how threatened and vulnerable one feels, and coping appraisal, that is one's own ability to respond effectively to the threat. A combination of both of these decides a person's behavioral intentions and ultimate protective behaviors that they follow. The findings of the study, from the first wave, the first part of the study, which is year 2020, is what we call sanitizing the sanitizer. Overall, there were different motivation drivers for picking up and following hygiene habits over the 2 years. Year 1 theme is what we call sanitizing the sanitizer phase, highlighted by novelty, uncertainty, and fear. COVID-19 was a new, unheard of disease that gave masses a new vocabulary. There was unprecedented government response with nationwide lockdowns in place. One knew that there was no known cure and the protection guidelines were also evolving. Additionally, news media was on overdrive, with WhatsApp forwards becoming a worrisome legit source of information. From a protection motivation theory perspective, there was high level of perceived severity and vulnerability, and low confidence in coping response due to lack of understanding on the virus as well as widespread news of death. There was low belief in response efficacy as well as low response cost perception because the other end of the scale was the fear of contracting the deadly virus. This resulted in people practicing elaborate hygiene rituals across 3 dimensions. First, frequency of cleaning. Second, strength of cleaning agent. And third, segregation. Mothers said that they focused on 3 things when it came to hygiene. When it came to hygiene. First, personal hygiene for self or family, where they focused on consciously increasing frequency of hand washing and adopting use of sanitizer. They also mentioned use of sanitizing agents for laundry and even shoes. Second, kitchen hygiene became important, where fruits and vegetables were thoroughly washed and sanitized and kitchen surfaces vigorously scrubbed. Some mothers also reported creating new concoctions of sanitizing liquids with salt, soda bicarb, vinegar, whatever they could find, etc., for cleaning surfaces and peace of mind. The third aspect of hygiene which took prominence was home hygiene, where homes were being turned into fortresses and nothing was welcome from outside. Example, mothers cited going back to traditional ways of segregating the outside elements and deciding what enters their home. So footwear became like this big bone of contention where outside footwears were segregated from internal footwears. These behaviors were often inspired by social recommendation, fear, or hearsay. However, the second wave was different. An year of certainty seemed to have taken its toll. The study also identified three dominant themes influencing risk perception for self and family, which in turn guided adherence of hygiene behaviors as the pandemic entered year 2. The first influencing factor was fatigue, both informational and behavioral. There was an information overdose leading to muted response amongst people. Also, COVID 19 highlighted the disproportionate division of domestic labor. Mothers found themselves tired and overtly burdened. So they actually found ways to rationalize the reduced action that they were taking, like now resorting to just washing fruits and vegetables in water or cleaning home just once, as against the fury of activity that was a highlight of the wave 1. The second influencing factor was COVID exposure of family member or acquaintance and their recovery. In the second wave, hardly any family remained untouched from the virus, further fueling the fatalism that and the belief that if it has to happen, it will happen despite following all protections, which again led to decline in following certain protective behaviors. The final impacting factor, for adherence or discontinuation of the activity was the vaccine availability, and the hope that it was this ultimate answer that would protect, them, and life could go back to normal as it were. From a protection motivation theory perspective, the level of perceived severity and vulnerability dropped to medium, while the confidence in coping response improved. The belief in response efficacy was still low. However, stories of recovery and people beginning to get vaccinated impacted overall intentions to follow preventive behaviors, resulting in medium to low adherence of the guidelines that people were supposed to follow. Now, coming to study implications, the present study highlights that people's risk perception and protection motivations are not static posts, they are dynamic, evolving parameters. And relevant messaging is required, being a tailored relevant messaging to each stage of people's of this evolution is required to bring about a sustainable change. As far as the limitations of the study go, the study being limited to one geography and being only qualitative seems like the two big limitations of the study. A quantitative study with robust sample size, done with behavioral modeling, could help in developing frameworks for sustaining a crisis-induced habit change communication plan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vibha. Thank you for such an interesting presentation. And it is said that old habits die hard. And true, and this, has been taught to us by the new normal that, we have to follow new practices to keep away from the virus. And it's very interesting study. And I was really, I could relate to my experiences during the 1920 lockdown as a mother, as a housewife, as a working professional, the phobia of, the scare and everything. I will not go any further. Very interesting study, and definitely collective consciousness is very important to fight the virus. And yes. And it's a beautiful presentation, and you share your link, the link. If anybody wants to have more insight about the presentation, they can get connected to Vibha directly, and they can have more insight about regarding the presentation. Let's move to the second presentation. Another very interesting and challenging work to work with adolescent girls. And to work with adolescent girls is quite challenging when it comes to, reaching out to them in regarding vaccination, advocacy, and regarding removing of vaccination hesitancy. That's very, very important. And now Sampath Muthuvelan from Nalamdana NGO. I hope I pronounced it correctly.
Exactly, you are correct. You are correct. Actually.
Yes, okay. We'll be talking about behavior is another vaccine. I really like the title of your presentation. Behavior is another vaccine, reaching young girls on vaccine hesitancy. I would say the screen is all yours. Please continue.
Yes, thank you, Neeru madam. Actually, I just before go to this my presentations, I request Sopini please waste 1 or 2 minutes to introduce myself and my colleagues.
Because it's a collective work and collective consciousness is very important. Please go ahead.
That's very important. So first of all, I'm really thanks to the SBCC teams to given a platform to present our work. This really thanks to them. And also, this is the very first time for us to present our work in the online. I'm also very little nervous to present our work in the online. And also, my sincere thanks to my core members, Ms. Uttara and Nitya Balaji, and also the core members and co-authors of these presentations, Mr. Jeevanandam Rajendran and Mr. Oyavandan Palaniappan and Sujitra Jeevanandam. So thanks a lot to them. They given a good, as you said, corrective. This is the very collective work. We done all the sessions in our area. So thanks to them. And also, I hope Uttara is joined in these sessions, and I hope other people also will join. Maybe whatever questions are raised by the participants, they can also present their work, give their answers for the questions. I request them. And before start the presentations, I just ask Sohini, please, actually, I hope you present my slide one by one, I think. Before go to the fourth slide, I just add that some more informations in the third slide, because the whole presentation is only the 5 to 6 minutes only, but it won't take much time, I hope. So kindly allow me. Thanks a lot. You can start my presentation, Sophie, please.
Sir, just give me a minute, because we had kept the pre-recorded video for your ready.
Exactly.
So just give me a minute to just get back to your old presentation and start it off.
Oh, okay.
I was wondering if the pre-recorded video can start, and maybe we can just pause it in slide number 3, and then he can add in, and then we can continue.
Yes, I think that will be great.
That will be good.
Yeah.
And I would like to say that my co-author, Mrs. Sujitra Jeevanandam, also joined in this session. So thank you.
Hi, good wishes to you all. My name is Sampath Muthuvelan, and I am privileged to talk to you today about how behavior is another vaccine, and tell you the story of how Nalamdana reached young girls on their vaccine hesitancy post-lockdown. Nalamdana means "Are you well?" in Tamil language. This non-profit trust was established on December 8, 1993, based in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, South India. Nalamdana operates on the principle that entertainment more effectively motivates and persuades people to adapt better health practices than traditional public health campaigns. In the last 28 years, Nalamdana has worked with disadvantaged and vulnerable communities all across Tamil Nadu to deliver health impact through social and behavior change communication. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, Nalamdana's outreach and community work had to come to a standstill.
Actually, this is the fourth slide. Can you go for the third slide, please?
Interpersonal connection to communication.
Yeah, the third one, the previous, this one. Yeah, actually, as you say, I correct, the last 28 years, we have worked many projects in a different mediums. Like the first photos also, this is street theater. Usually we are doing the communicate the information through the street theater. And whenever possible, we are doing that using the questionnaire tool to collect the knowledge from the participants. And the third one is actually the community radio, the Nalamdana Central Community Radio we are running right now. That's also very great asset for us to communicate all the health information, especially for during the pandemic period. And the fourth one is the puppet show. Usually we are doing in the school setup. We use this puppet show for the hygienic behavior and tell about the importance of the toilet usage and personal hygiene, all the things. We use this puppet medium. And the fourth one is just we are online live demonstration, ask the children to come to front and wash your hands, how to wash your hands, kind of things we are teaching them. And the other photos, you can see that the role play. Usually, this is the very effective medium. Usually, we are doing this role play in the hospital setup or hospital premises while the persons are all waiting for their turn. We are doing this kind of role play to communicate the information, health informations. And the other photo snap, you can see that when we do the programs in the school itself, we are not only doing for the children and also for the at end of the sessions, we call all the teachers from the schools and discuss with them whatever we teach with the students, kindly follow with them and help them to sustain their behavior. A kind of discussion definitely end of the session we will have usually. And the another snaps, you can see that the students are all directly interact with the puppets and ask the questions about their personal hygiene and all these things, and also what they learn from the sessions. And finally, another effective medium is the film screening at the community setup. Because Nalamdana is for all health and social issues we are working for. So any projects, at end of the project, we are producing some IEC materials to especially the video materials. We screen these video materials in all the slums, urban slums in the Chennai city and create the awareness. Thank you. Go to the next slide. You can play the all the
Tamil Nadu to deliver health impact through social and behavior change communication. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, Nalamdana's outreach and community work had to come to a standstill. Interpersonal connection, which was Nalamdana's greatest strength, was not possible. Quickly pivoting to digital and electronic outreach, Nalamdana created a range of carefully researched and creatively developed materials for print, audio, and video. In partnership with the government and private stakeholders, these were disseminated through social media channels, in public places, and through Nalamdana's own Tendral community radio station. An estimated 14 lakh people have been reached this way. Even as the COVID-19 vaccine has become widely available in India to eligible ages, hesitancy to take the vaccine and lack of adherence to continued prevention measures like masking in public continue to be a challenge. Women and girls have less access to information and resources than their male counterparts. Less women and girls were coming forward for the vaccine. As schools and colleges began to reopen, it became evident that empowering young women and girls with the COVID-19 prevention information, including vaccine uptake, was critical. To this end, interactive programs on COVID-19 prevention facts and vaccines were organized in 4 different sites in Chennai. A total of 10 sessions conducted during the month of September 2021, reaching 303 young school and college girls. This included introduction, basic facts on COVID-19 prevention and vaccines, group discussion and role plays to draw out the girls, demonstration of proper mask wearing and hand washing, and finally, clearing any doubts the girls had and getting their feedback. Here is a snapshot of some of the feedback we received from the girls. Miss Jeevitha, 9th standard, Away Home School, Adayar, Chennai, South India. She said, cleared myself whatever doubts I had from this session, especially myths on vaccination, getting lung infection when we wear a mask for long hours. The other girl, Dhanapriya, said, after this session, the fear about the coronavirus has cleared and focused on preventive measures myself. Ms. Kalai said, we almost had a first dose of vaccine and waiting for our second dose, and sure we'll follow SMS, that is social distance, mask and sanitize. Most of the questions received by the Nalamdana team were around proper mask wearing, basic vaccine facts, fear of COVID and vaccine hesitancy due to rumors around them causing deaths. So that a famous actor in Tamil Nadu died of an unrelated heart attack. He had been a big advocate for vaccines. Unfortunately, rumors have since been going around that his death was due to his taking the vaccine. This misconception needed to be dispelled. Some key challenges faced by this effort included difficulty in seeking permission to organize session at target place, and challenges in engaging the participants by using interactive games due to COVID protocols. and getting students to open up and talk about their COVID fears, and the constantly changing the information about the virus and explaining complicated medical terminology. And some lessons what we learned are empowering young girls with the correct and complete information about protection and vaccine is critical. It is important to take the time to creatively engage them and openly answer their questions. And second, this not only encourages them to protect themselves but also to be advocates for COVID-19 safe behaviors within their families and communities. So finally, hope this pandemic will end soon completely by responsible behavior by individuals, families and communities. Thank you. In Tamil, Nandri.
Okay.
Thank you for such a beautiful presentation. And like you said, in Tamil, it means all is well.
Yeah.
Are you well? And I
Are you
think,
well? Yeah.
are you well? And I think it is important that all of us remain well and, fight this pandemic with the, following COVID appropriate behaviors. So I think it was a very interesting presentation. And I am very sure these young girls will act as change agents, or will their roles will be defined as role models for the entire community. And you've done commendable work, and the way you've showcased your work, it's really commendable. And getting a vaccine at a very young age, the moment you enter the period of being an adult, and you definitely, like you also said, these young girls will definitely guide their family members for following safe behaviors. It's important for them to get vaccinated. And the way you presented, very interesting study. Thank you to the team from Nalamdana. Yes, for a very interesting work they have taken during the tough times, along with Sampath and his the team members. Thank you so much. And I think, like you said, are you well? I think we will all remain well and safe. That's very important. I was really reminded of, Amir Khan saying all is well, all is well. So we all have. Yes.
And also, I want to say that actually today morning only in the plenary session, so we from the CCN, the COVID-19 Communication Network, they released their newsletter, and the first page, our video film was there, so the picture was there. So it's really happy to see that.
Yeah.
And also when we talk about the children's, the vaccine is being particularly the vaccination. Actually, the contra things is the vaccine. Previously, actually, the traditional way is the vaccination usually starts from the infants to the older age. But if you take this COVID-19 case, the vaccination starts from the older age come to the small age. So
it is the other way around.
Yeah, other way around. So when we put the vaccination for the children, they won't refuse to take a vaccines because the parents insist them, and this is automatic process. They have to take the parents take the children and go to the hospital and take the vaccines. But when come to the vaccination start from the older age, the younger age peoples is very challenged to tell the older age peoples, why don't you take a vaccines? Please go and take it. That is very challenging for them. So
absolutely,
this is the
fine.
Yes,
absolutely. This is, you made a very correct point that, this was for the first time that you start with senior citizens and you come with you are in the age. Very interesting study and very interesting, challenging work. And I think keep continuing doing the good work. And I think community radio has also played a very important role across the country. Yeah, absolutely, across the country. And if in raising awareness on following of community appropriate behavior, overcoming communication vaccine hesitancy, and it has been a long journey since the I think since the onset of lockdown in 2020. If any questions, please participants post them in the chat box. The presenters will answer all the questions. If any you want to learn about any challenges, how they faced, and how a different strategy they adopted to reach out to these vulnerable groups, these marginalized young girls, please, or to the presenter in the first presentation, please post them in the chat box. We go to the third presentation now. The third presentation is from Pakistan. It is by Mohammad Hitam Shah. He's a development professional and he's working in the area of MNCHN, and he's been very passionate about what he's doing, for has experience for more than a decade, and to work in area which is really, really difficult, working for advocacy, working with frontline workers, young women workers who are at the front line, and how they are facing the challenges. So he will be talking about from risk to repeal, communication in Pakistan. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Niru. Hello, everyone. My name is Ehtisham Akram. I'm from Pakistan and I work in social development sector. And my experience is for spans over like nearly 20 years, and I have contributed to different social and behavior change communication initiatives in the country. And I'm here to share with you guys my thoughts about how risk communication is linked with social and behavior change communication given the COVID context. Thank you to the organizers for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts. In next few slides, I'll share my thoughts and experiences from some of my recent work in Pakistan and how it is linked with the subject of discussion for this conversation, and what do I see as implications for our upcoming social and behavior change landscape post-COVID. To begin with, I would like to highlight some of the global learnings from the recent past, which have been documented globally and in a pre-COVID context. So first of all, many of us would know that the Ebola indirect effects were noted to be more severe than the outbreak itself. And the few services which were measured were found to be declining during the Ebola pandemic, especially antenatal care, family planning, facility-based deliveries, and postnatal care. And the reason, of the many reasons, one was the fear of contracting Ebola virus at health facilities. That was also linked with lack of trust in the health system, and also misinformation and rumors about the source of the disease. So, the documentation of the knowledge in the early onset of the COVID-19 transmission also found a drastic decline in health facility-based childbirths, in early initiation of breastfeeding, etc., due to the fear of COVID-19 transmission. Lately, as the COVID episode progressed and our knowledge was also enhanced, it was found that there has been a high prevalence of anxiety and depression amongst pregnant women in developed as well as lower and middle income countries because of the COVID. So, given that context, last year a study was conducted to assess the healthcare seeking behavior and practices of targeted communities, and document the issues faced during the COVID-19 situation with regards to MNCH services. The study was conducted in 9 districts of Sindh and Islamabad in Pakistan. So this was a qualitative study which was also complemented with secondary data analysis of the key MNCH services utilization statistics and a limited literature review. The geographical spread of the study was 10 districts, which included 5 urban districts of Karachi, and then 4 rural districts of Sindh, that were Dadu, Ladkana, Shikarpur, and Jacobabad, and also in Islamabad Capital Territory. A number of the study participants included, almost every tier of the health system in Pakistan, and also the users, especially the pregnant and lactating women and mothers of children under 5. Besides, the discussions were also conducted with specialists in MNCH services that included gynecologists, health managers such as district health officers and medical officers at the health facilities, and also the MNCH experts at the provincial level, which included the program heads and also from civil society and UN organizations. So the sample was quite large. 45 FGDs were conducted and 35 in-depth interviews were conducted to inform the study and seek answers to the research questions postulated. Okay, with respect to results, I'll limit to something which is perhaps directly related with the subject of discussion today. The perceived susceptibility was the most reported barrier. And what constituted this perceived susceptibility, effort was also made to ascertain that. And I have listed a few fear labels, so to say, here to give an idea what this perceived susceptibility was underpinned by. So, contracting COVID virus by mother and child, getting labeled as COVID-19 patient, doctor giving corona injection, fear of getting isolated in the hospital as COVID-19 patient and death, fear of getting registered as death from COVID. So you see that these 5 fears basically imply a number of aspects of this risk communication. These are, as a matter of fact, results of the risk communication that accompanied the efforts to curtail COVID spread and manage it. So the fear of its transmission from mother to child, and then the second one, you see, getting labeled as COVID-19 patient, that there was a huge stigma attached to it. So fear and stigma both work together to create that high level of perceived susceptibility. And then doctor giving corona injection, so the rumors of associated with the economic factors or the financial things with respect to aid for the country, and the other monetary benefits, etc. So that also was related with this perceived susceptibility. And then a fear of getting isolated in the hospital as COVID-19 patient. We see that social isolation was the key strategy to tackle with the COVID pandemic. However, that social isolation need was also, portrayed and promoted with that factor of risk, which has resulted into this kind of fear building, you see. And when a patient is going to hospital, especially when women for seeking MNCH services, getting isolated is more like it's a huge thing. It's something which in itself is a barrier to healthcare seeking. And then, the other important thing, okay, the health workers now. You see, community health workers were perceived as spreading the virus, and they were like also in a way looked at uh, as like agents of corona spread. And also like corona has not only been limited to itself, but it has implicated the other diseases related communication as well. So coronavirus spreading through polio. So there, I mean, the already existing challenges have been multiplied by the COVID related risk communication. In the rest part of the slide, you will see some, boxes where I have noted down a few expressions from our focus group discussions with the mothers who included both pregnant and lactating mothers, and also mothers of children under 5, and also from, lady health workers. Just to share with the audience who are not familiar with the health system of Pakistan, that lady health worker is the first avenue of interaction between our communities and the formal health system of Pakistan. So they are responsible for health education and primary providing primary health care, and supporting the health system in delivering preventive health services, especially vaccination, improving health seeking care behaviors, nutrition, and MNCH related practices. So in the at the bottom we'll see that one of the lady health workers, she shared that we did not know any specific information about corona, especially how to protect from it. Whatever we saw on TV, we told people. So this one simple sentence actually tells the whole story, that the sole and the biggest channel of communication was television, and to some extent social media. But important to note here is also that the main broadcast media also sometimes follow the social media. Many news were taken from social media and then brought into the mainstream news media. So uh, media played a role both in bringing the information, but at the same time also in creating that confusion, or those factors which were not helpful for that risk communication, and especially when it was only one way. It was not a two-way communication. While we all understand that an essential factor or essential element of risk communication is that it has to be a two-way. So in rest of the blocks, rather boxes, you can see that the different reflections related to this communication. I mean, it resulted into disrespect, abuse, and denial of the services at the health facilities, especially for women, and also not only at the health facility, at the the household level as well. Uh, Males were reported to not allowing the women to seek health services. And in this one of the quote, you can see that they said that we would arrange the health delivery services at home rather than allowing the women to go to the hospitals. And then also women stopped giving or feeding their children the mother milk, because of this, fear of transmission of COVID. So this all was happening because of that one-way risk communication that was perhaps, incomplete and was top-down and, created or resulted into this huge perceived susceptibility alongside, the different fears. So, after giving you a flavor of what uh, has been the result of risk communication, especially with respect to women healthcare seeking for maternal, newborn, and child health services. In this slide, I want to, share my thoughts about uh, what really has happened and what we should see in future, and being cognizant of what is coming to us, we may better plan how to manage and tackle this thing. So to begin with, I just want to share with you the definition which WHO has provided about risk communication is that it's a two-way and multidirectional communication and engagement with affected populations so that they can take informed decisions to protect themselves and their loved ones. So that is a that standard definition of risk communication, and it includes the elements of a two-way communication, multi-directional, and engagement with the populations, and taking them into the not only in confidence but into conversations and into taking those decisions with which they can protect themselves and their loved ones, and with what the governments can do and take steps in order to protect its population. So lately we have seen that uh, the statement from WHO, it tells that it highlights a shift from the directive one-way communication which characterized the early stages of the COVID-19 towards the community engagement and participatory approaches that have been proven to help control and eliminate outbreaks in the past. Well, uh, this is important, this is needed, and actually this is inevitable. But the food for thought is that how to deal with what the one way risk communication has done so far. That's the most important and a bigger question to deal with. You see now, um, I mean, as our study has also showed, and a lot of literature exists now about the challenges which COVID has created for the health systems, and not only health system but the overall socio ecological outlook of the humanity, uh, which needs now a careful review of the efforts and approaches to deal with them. So the communication challenge is now bigger and manifold. It's not merely limited to, just to COVID, which in itself is not over yet. And, that risks still, holds on, and countries are still trying to manage how to do it. Uh, there new risks and new challenges have emerged, and they are directly somehow related with the social and behavior change communication. So, especially mental health issues, they are, deeply related with social and, behavior change communication. There are now new issues uh, in the capacity of the health system and the workers and the governments and the whole of that ecology that surrounds COVID and post-COVID, implications, I must say. So, I mean, there is an acute need I see as for SBCC, social and behavior change communication, in order to address those communication related challenges at policy levels, and that in the middle circle of the environment, to create that specific enabling environment which can help not only rectify and undo what has already been done by the risk communication, but also to tackle with the new challenges, new health issues, new infirmities resulting from the COVID, and then also, uh, you know, uh, at the individual level, to help individuals and communities come out of that stress, depressions, anxiety, and in the words of Dr. Joe Spenza, to rewire the neurological connections and circuits for new ways of individuals thinking, doing, and being. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mohammed Hitisham Akramji. And I think it was a very, very intensive presentation. And the kind of work you did was very intensive and across so many districts in Pakistan. And many indicators were covered. And you very correctly said, social behavior change is very, very important. And new challenges are being posed every day. Every day, I think every day. And this, the infodemic, the WhatsApp, which circulated a lot of myths, misconceptions, not only in India, in Pakistan, across different countries. We have seen them, and how these myths, misconceptions, they created a lot of negativity in the population, which also, triggered mental health issues at times. And and a lot of studies have been done. There is evidence, and studies are in progress regarding the same. And one thing very interesting, like you said, risk, there are challenges, and the challenges are manifold. And each and every one has his or own perception. And those, perceptions, when they combine, they really become a threat to communication. And that threat, everybody is looking, I would say, in a very, very sustained manner to look at those threats, look how these challenges can be met, because the year 2020 will, when we see the annals of history, our generations will see this. They will definitely see it as a changing year. It has changed the, yes, not only brought the life to standstill across the globe, across countries, but also, triggered all individual thought, the thought process of each and every one, how, there have been debates. You all are aware of that, how human relationships are important, how things are important, how being and staying positive is important. And staying positive, being positive, can only sustain the behaviors, and that's very, very important. I just want to remind all the participants that the experts, the presenters have posted their email IDs in the chat box. If you want to connect to them directly, you can go to them, you can just ask for them. And these have been very, very interesting study. And you rightly said food for thought, not only food for thought, food for, triggering how to take these studies forward. Like if you've done something, in Pakistan or in India or Bangladesh, this forum has provided that can be, that triggers our thought process and how these can be taken up in India or Bangladesh or in a specific state. And these are very important. And of course, risk RCC, as you said, is very, very important. There is a few, I think that question has been answered also directly, that young girls brought gender specific issues around vaccination, especially menstruation. And I think it was answered also that, there was direct one-to-one communication regarding the same. I just want to know, and there is that's an extension of the question also, any specific strategy which you followed, which was different from boys and men for these young girls, for, raising awareness regarding vaccination among these adolescent girls or college going girls. So is there any specific strategy which the organization followed?
Actually, I would like to say answer for your questions here, madam. So actually, we are not any specific strategy different for the women and the men. Uh, Based on the ground reality, we are just having a discussions with the men and women. So basically, the post-lockdown session also is very challenging to talk about, especially the sensitive things. Actually, they are totally, even the school children and college students are very fear mood. They not even come forward to talk about what they have in their mind about that COVID. So totally is fear is kind of thing. So that very challenge is to start up to talk about that. COVID also is very big challenge, because when we have a session at a school, no, just we when we ask the students just to tell about what you think about the COVID-19 and coronavirus. Simply, they are not talking anything, just sitting in front of us. So we had a little challenge that how we open up them to discuss about that COVID virus and corona, all the things. So we started like, okay, now why don't you during this pandemic period, what are the new English words you learned? We start up like this. So immediately they are coming forward, corona, COVID, masks, lockdown, all pass, online class, Google Meet, kind of all technical English, common universal words are all coming out. So based on the coming words only, we trigger the discussion to start the discussion about all the things. So and also it's a very difficult to get the time. Actually, within a 1 hour, we have to cover all the things. It's a very challenge
Yes.
for us. It's we have not enough time to talk about the general safe behavior and all the things. Comparatively, that very sensitive part. Even though we had a session at the college girls, what they indirectly what they said, no, sir, we are not interested to take a vaccine because we have other health problems. Maybe it's include the menstruation and all. So after consulting the doctor only, we are planning to take the vaccine. So when we had a discussion with Unan with them, though, what she said, no, maybe it affects our regular health cycle, kind of words they are used. So it's quite challenge for the open up to frankly all the things. So and also the moral support, the mind depression, when we talk with the college girls, mind depression is the playing was the main role. Because when we talk with the one girl, what she said, no, sir, myself and my all family members are affected by the COVID. I got the moral support only from my friend, not from my relatives. That is
Thank
the
you.
main, yeah, the main thing. So
Yeah.
these are all the things. So talking about the sensitive issues, is quite challenged, and also we are using the strategy almost the same for the men and women based on the ground realities. Thank you, Neeta.
Absolutely right. And, I think all of us are learning from experiences, with experiences, and experiential learning does, help. And it is helping each one of us to take things forward. And I will just conclude the session because we have plenary planned up at 1 p.m. And, I think very interesting presentations, and everybody who has been the participant can, explore more. If they want to directly communicate with the presenters, that will be really, really nice. And all of you are requested to join the plenary also. And I would request the experts also to join the plenary at 1. And just a quick recap, I think I will just start, collective consciousness brings results which are I would say, just like behaviors need to stick, results that need to stick, and which can be scalable, which can be really, really interesting to take things forward. And definitely none of us had heard of this word if you do a survey of the word pandemic. And so most of us are practitioners in public health. When I started teaching you, so pandemic, infodemic, and so many things, new terminologies came. They were added in the dictionary, and this has been I would say so many new words, like Sampath said, trending hashtags and so many things. So this is the world definitely are different. But yes, just like you see when you're traveling in difficult times, when you're traveling in a tunnel, when you see the light, it gives you hope. And I think the work done by all of you, the commendable work, when the nations were at global lockdowns, the commendable work done by organizations, by individuals, by governments, so many, each one contributing in their own specific way, in bringing social behavior change or whatever RCCE. So I think that has been commendable, and that will take the humanity and humankind to newer heights. And all of us are positive. I think beautiful presentations, worth remembering presentations, I would say again, by Vibha Gupta under the guidance of Dr. Sarita Anand, Sampath and his team. And I've learned anew well that, all is well, and then all has to be well. And then, of course, from Pakistan, working, Mohammed, I get it's so wonderful. Ihtisham Akram. Yeah, I don't want to, because it's a beautiful word. My apologies. And I just got carried away, and, and if anything I missed out, my apologies to all the presenters for commendable work. I request all of you to be, we should stay connected. And some of you, like this is I would say a curtain raiser to a bigger event, which is going to happen in Morocco in 2022. See the hard work everybody has been putting in. Keep doing the good work, and stay connected and stay safe. That's the most important thing in life. Some of us already have seen, the social isolation and so many things. And yes, most of us have seen that. All of us are vaccinated, but still, in spite of fear, we have overcome that fear. And, hope is also always important. So stay hopeful, stay peaceful, stay positive, and join the plenary. Thank you all. We had a wonderful session. Thank you all. And I'll see you again online in the plenary. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
the team. Yeah, thank you, the technical team, the volunteers. You have put in a lot of hard work for last so many days. Thank you so much. And of course, New Concept and all the partners are doing a commendable job. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. I would request all of you to please check your chat box and click on the link and go back to the plenary session. If you haven't registered, please register now. Otherwise, all of you must have got a registration email in your inbox. You can join through that as well.